Okay, hello. Welcome to another Isle of Fitness podcast. My name is Sean Clifford. I'm the owner operator of Isle of Fitness, and I'm here today with Paul Orselli, a current Isle of Fitness dad slash rock star. Why are we having this conversation today? I'm delighted to talk to Paul and dig into how Paul has been doing over the last few months of us working together. 6-ish years ago, I was a dad that was feeling hopeless, clinically obese, and exhausted. And depressingly, at 34, I thought it was game over. I thought once I hit 30, it was all downhill. I listened to a lot of bullshit. I listened to a lot of cultural messages which weren't true. I thought that the only way to get healthier was a miserable diet and or exercise program. And I knew for my situation that was not going to work. I needed something substantial and way more than a band-aid than a short-term diet. It took me 18 months to do the work, but I eventually lost the 45 pounds. On the other side of that, I felt so good. I was like, okay, that was not easy, but it was simple. And I experienced changes so profound that I was like, I want to help other dads experience this. And so I got certified as an awesome personal trainer. I set up Isle of Fitness LLC. I went to work for my former coach as well, Jason. And to date, I've coached hundreds of men and women one to one. And I think it's around 141 dads to date. My focus at Isle of Fitness is helping dads, busy, exhausted dads that have at least 40 pounds to lose. That is where I was back in the day. And after coaching coming up in 4 years, I believe, I feel I've got a great vehicle that helps dads do this work. So I am delighted today to talk with Paul. Paul's very kindly donated, given up some time on a Friday to chat with me. It's extraordinary. Before I, introduce Paul, I have not seen Paul properly, like on camera, since our first call. Um, and seeing him here today after a few months, he is looking healthy, and he looks about, I would say, about 10 years younger, and that's no BS. And Paul can, share in his own experience, but it's absolutely amazing. Paul, thank you so much, sir, for chatting with me today. I'm excited to find out more about how you've been getting on. If you don't mind, do you mind just like setting the scene? Do you mind telling us a bit about yourself, home life, work life, all that good stuff?
Sure. Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm doing good, mate.
So my name's Paul Orselli. I have my own business. I work with museums. I design museum exhibits and create new museums. But I am a happy husband, and I am a father of four, no longer kids, young adults. So that's sort of my story in a nutshell. And I think which might inform a lot of the rest of our conversation, being a dad and Sean articulating how wanting to be healthy and fit as a father, how that fits into this conversation, I think is what really resonates with me the most.
Fantastic, Paul. So, like, your story, similar to my story. Dads, working dads, busy, lots is going on. Do you mind telling like just a bit of a flavor of what life is, what day-to-day life is like or was like for you, a few months ago?
Yeah, I mean, my life really varies because I get to work with museums all around the world. So I travel a fair amount for work and for conferences. I teach also graduate programs here in New York and also remotely in Bulgaria. So there's a lot of moving parts. My wife works outside of the home, and so now, because our kids are grown and out of the house, it's mostly me and my wife and our dog, Shiloh. But it's a lot of moving parts. So when there are a lot of moving parts, it's easy to let things like eating properly or exercising or even just something as simple as walking. Um, it's easy to sort of make excuses. Well, I'm da 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 da. I'm busy. I'm getting ready for a trip, and so over time, I think, and also when the kids were younger, again, there are lots of excuses. Oh, we've got a soccer game, we've got a school thing, where I got to help my kids with this or that. You sort of lose track of your own health, honestly, and your own well-being because you're concerned with your kids, understandably. And so that's really, just to come full circle, what I think brought me to working with you, Sean. It was like, okay, I've neglected my health and my body. Like this has to stop. I want to actually be around and feel healthy and active with my wife and our kids and hopefully their kids, our grandkids one day, and I'm not going to do that by just sitting on my butt at the computer or making excuses for why I should have some ice cream, more ice cream, or I should just skip really doing any activity at all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
I love that, Paul. Like, so a busy man, running your own business, working within the States internationally, have loved, getting to know you and hearing about like the trips to Bulgaria, the different installations that you work on, a very kind of exotic, niche business, which is fantastic. What you're saying there about, you know, kind of a familiar story of putting everyone else's needs and being the taxi service, for example, when the kids are younger. And what I felt and what I see working with fellow dads is losing having lost a sense of self, and you're kind of hollowed out by the grind, even though the grind is wonderful and it's full, and you've got family and you've got work and you're busy, and like, but like you're not taking care of yourself, and you're making sure everyone else is good. And then
you
by the time you've done that, you're in the kind of a rut, and then it maybe just a bowl of ice cream instead of going out for a walk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, as a dad, I mean, we love our families. We feel a responsibility to help our families, do good things, provide things for our families. And so a lot of times as parents, both moms and dads, adult
Mm-hmm.
caregivers, we put ourselves in the back seat. And then you look up one day, like in my case, 30 years later, and be like, what happened? It's like you wake up from a dream. Well, of course, it just happens over time. It
Mm-hmm.
just happens naturally. You of course, feel love and responsibility for your family, of course, but you sometimes lose track of the love and responsibility for yourself and your health. And I, in retrospect, now working with you, it's like, oh yeah, that's what happened. It's too bad it's and I suppose we'll talk a little bit more in detail, but you asked me um, recently when I broke through 200 pounds, went below 200 pounds, how long it had been. And I mean, like literally 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's first off, that's incredible that as always with any of these weight loss stories, like how was I carrying 30 pounds or 40 pounds or whatever it is? And then
Mm-hmm.
you lost that. But, not only how were you doing that, but why it happened. And it's clear why it happened.
Yeah.
But it's also equally clear why I'm not going to go back and let that happen again. So,
Well, yeah, well, absolutely, we're going to get to that because that's one of my hopes for you, not expectations. when the one of the beautiful parts before we get this is a juicy part for me, but it's like when you do this work in this way from where you are, if the changes feel enjoyable rather than miserable. Like, okay, you're going to do keto or you're going to do carnivore, you're fasting or juicing, and we'll get into like what that kind of looks like. But the one of the beautiful things is that helps you stick to this is you remember how badly you're feeling. The changes feel enjoyable and sustainable. So you're like, why? What? And you're still getting to have ice cream, and you're still getting to enjoy the pasta and the wine, Paul, but not at a level which compromises, your weight, your happiness, your wellness.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think one thing for anybody watching this, I mean, what you just said, it's more a question in my mind of being mindful about what you're eating, not like you're feeling like, oh, I'm preventing myself from having something that I enjoy.
Yeah,
It's almost the exact opposite. When you're mindful, you are really savoring and enjoying every bite. You're not just scarfing a bag of
yeah,
chips
yeah,
mindlessly, or you're
yeah,
like, oh, what happened to that ice cream container? Now it's empty. Like,
yeah.
you're like, okay, I'd really like some ice cream, but I'm going to have a small bowl of ice cream because I know I worked out today, or I know I was careful with what I
Mhm.
was eating, and I'd like a little treat. You know,
Yeah,
that's a much different story, and that mindful thing. I mean, again, you say simple but not easy, and I think that sort of mantra really resonates with me too. You know, it's like, okay, I know what to do, but am I going to do it?
yeah, yeah.
Like everybody knows what to do, but are you going to do it?
Yeah, and this conversation, like this part of the conversation is so just like just different avenues to go down here. But I'm gonna back up to the kind of beginning. So you're Lisa's out of the house, working. Your kids are grown. You're working from home. You're traveling. What can you tell me, Paul? What that felt? What did that look like for you? You're up around 2:30. You're contemplating, making some changes. What did that look like for you? And then just kind of like how we kind of connected.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably anybody related when they are on a journey, or when they know they need to make some sort of a change in their life, whatever that change is. You know, I think people have an epiphany. You know, they have different, you have to be ready to make that change. You
Mhm.
know, it's not just an intellectual thing, as you know. And I think my epiphany really related to a super positive event, but it just made me think about myself. Our son Philip got married in September, and I was looking at the pictures from the wedding, and of course, it was a joyous occasion. But you know, I was thinking, wow, like how did I end up here? I'm the heaviest I've ever been. And I wasn't happy about that part of the story, did not make me happy. And I was like, you know, this has to change. I know it has to change for my health. It's not just, you know, I'm not trying to be at 63 years old, I'm not trying to be a pinup model. I just want to be healthy and fit, and for myself and my family. And you know, that I think that was an epiphany. If you want to say that was my rock bottom, you talk about your story. You know, at a certain point, you're like, okay, this has to stop. And I'm not just going to talk about this stopping. I'm going to actually do something about this stopping. And so, you know, I was on Instagram, and I don't even know how you ended up in my feed, but I you did end up in my feed, and I watched your video. I poked around, and I was like, man, I like what this guy is saying. He's a dad. He was in a spot where I was at, and it seems like this guy is no bullshit, basically, and he's not talking about yeah, here's how you're going to lose weight. You're going to completely cut out carbs and you're going to carry a 50-pound anvil on your back every day. That's like an approach, but that is not, of course, a sustainable approach or a realistic approach, I don't think. So that was the epiphany, if you want, being like, okay, there's a lot of reasons why I might have ended up here, but this has to stop. Like, we need to rewind. And I saw you, and then we set up a call, and I was like, all right, I like this guy. He seems legit. And you know, I think you were very straightforward about what was involved and what, expectations were. If I don't think the last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up. The thing that I liked about meeting you for the first time electronically, on Zoom, was that it was clear that you want your partners to succeed. You don't want just somebody to sign up and like, okay, you ring the bell. I got another partner. I got that money coming into my business. You're running a business, so of course that's understandable. But it's funny, this role of coach or teacher or parent. It's kind of an interesting role. You want people to succeed, and you have to be the kind of person who really gets gratification out of knowing that you helped someone change their life. I mean, like, that's the most gratifying thing to me about being a parent, but that's also gratifying to me in my work. If I know that I did an exhibit, or if I helped another museum professional, like, understand how to shift their thinking about stuff, like, the whole game's changed. Like, they're all moving forward. They're gonna do things in a different way. You help your kids gain a skill or an insight into life that you share. You put them on a path. Their life is always going to be different after that point. You have to have a certain mindset, I think, to be a teacher or a parent or a coach. So that all that resonates with me, because both as a parent and as a essentially a consultant, a teacher. Um, so I was like, okay, I'll throw in with this guy. He seems like I like the cut of his jib. He seems like he knows what's what.
It, you
Here
know,
we
on
here we are.
and here we are, like
Rewound the tape 30 years.
yeah, 30 years and like just over 3 months. So Paul, excuse me, one thing there, a couple of things, there are different things. The picture, it is amazing. Again, I saw myself back in the day, big round fat face. I hated it. I hated it. And it kind of was, it was one of those examples of it crystallizes what's going on. It's as simple as a picture, but underneath all the crap that's going on, all the lack of self-care, it just crystallizes in that picture.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I am very fortunate to not be driven by money. And I think what I love is, what impact can I have? How can I impact for the better the Orselli family? And Paul, the laws of averages. You and Lisa are going to be grandparents down the line, and one of the thrills I get is you running around in the garden with your grandson or granddaughter, in the years to come, and you're loving it instead of sitting on a chair immobile and feeling miserable. And the difference that my kids' childhoods are going to be different because I started to take care of myself. So the legacy effect of this work, again, I don't like, very briefly, I don't enjoy helping dads lose weight. I love helping dads unburden themselves of weight that is affecting their lives and legacy. And when you change that, it feels amazing. And that to be part of your story, Paul, is what I love. and get the satisfaction. So I appreciate that. Do you mind if I ask you? So we chatted. This is a big one, Paul. I will talk to, a lot of dads, and I think close to 4 years of doing this, I do a decent job of communicating the opportunity at hand. I still get a lot of dads that are fearful and they say, I'll revisit this down the line. And it kills me because, I'm like, I messed up somewhere and it's okay. I'm always learning. Did you have any hesitation in signing up with a stranger on the internet?
Um, my short answer is no, because when we spoke, you didn't feel like a used car salesman to me. You're my my assessment of you. That's a terrible thing to say. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's in business like me, but his motivations are pure. I mean, I just to go back briefly to what you said. I mean, I think it is tough, like businessman to businessman, when you engage with someone before you formally start work with someone, and then for whatever reason, the connection's not made. And then you feel like, I know I can help this person. I know like I would work well with this person, but that it always is a two-way street. I don't think it's funny when my kids were little, they're like, why didn't you get that job? You do a great job on that dinosaur exhibit. Like, what's wrong with those people? And I was like, you know what? Maybe they ate a bad burrito for lunch. It's not, I have no idea. And on a certain level, it doesn't matter. Like I know, hey, the door's open. I can still help those people, but for whatever reason, we didn't
Yeah.
make that initial connection. So I mean, it is interesting how people connect. But I mean, in our case, I just felt like, okay, not to get all woo-woo, but like, okay, I don't know, like something put this guy into my path, even if it was via the Instagram feed. And then we followed up and, here we are. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? To me, I said to you previously, to me, going below 200 pounds was like the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest. I wanted to do that. That was really important to me physically and psychologically. But again, there's no guarantee. I mean, it's like, okay, I say to people sometimes, yeah, I want a pony, but I'm not getting that either. Wanting
Yeah.
something and
Yeah.
doing something are two different things, as you well know.
Amazing. And if you see me, and as we talked about during our time together, Paul, it's not the number on the scale. It's the effort and the work that's gone in to get that number, the commitment. You don't get those numbers without the commitment, and then of course the actual benefits on the ground with your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. That is what is thrilling and exciting. Paul, thank you. Do you mind if I ask you, what's been your experience of like us working together over the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think you are a great coach and a great motivator, which is super helpful. I think you are really responsive. If somebody, if you reach out with a question or like a concern, you are right on it and offer options to consider. The other thing is, quite honestly, which I'm sure will make you laugh, you are not, I would not characterize you as a dogmatic coach. Like you might make suggestions, like I'll just pick on our personal favorite, oatmeal for breakfast, right? But like,
I was about to smile thinking about that a minute ago.
so you have said, hey, it's really important, and not in a dogmatic way. Start the day with protein, for example, or protein is a real tool to help with hunger and all of this conversation. And I said, yeah, that's great, but you know what? I like to have oatmeal with my wife in the morning. It's, for lack of a better term, like a little ritual to us. And I could see you sort of like, oh, for fuck's sake, this guy and his oatmeal ritual with his wife. Why doesn't he just have he has the Greek yogurt in his house? Why doesn't he just start with that or eggs? I know it's in his refrigerator. But I think that's like a really good indicator about the whole process of all things, a bowl of oatmeal. We can laugh about that. We can acknowledge like, okay, that might not be in a like perfect square box, the ideal plan, like to start with oatmeal in the morning, but that's still part of my plan and it still works. And I'll have Greek yogurt for lunch, or I'll have, something like that. It still fits into the mix, and it's not like, you as a coach are like, man, what's wrong with you? How many times do I need to tell you don't have, that's not how it works. I mean, because everyone's situation, I think, is different. And so, I think those two qualities, ultimately, your responsiveness to people, but also your flexibility. This is not, just like you said at the top. If I said to you, okay, you want to lose 30 pounds really fast. Okay, here's how you do it. You're going to run 10 miles a day. You're not going to have any carbs. It's something that will, in the short term, get you that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long term, it's not sustainable. And at the end of the day, I was looking to lose the weight, but to do it in a way that I knew would continue and be sustainable without, I mean, I hate to say this, this is like the parent thing all over again, right? You raise the kids to get them out of the
Yeah,
house. You work
yeah.
with partners to give them the tools, to give them the confidence to end up with a sustainable way of continuing with their life. That whatever the locks or the shifts that it took to make that change, you helped me make that. I can say that 100%. I knew in these past 30 years, I knew every day during those past 30 years what I needed to do to lose weight. But for whatever reason, I didn't, or I couldn't, or I wouldn't.
Mhm.
But now I did. Here we are.
Okay, you're giving me too much here. There's too much. There's like so many good things here to touch on. What you said about the oatmeal. So, for context for people watching, Paul and Lisa loved eating oatmeal in the morning. And of course, Paul's my partner, and I was wanting him to be set up for success. And I believe it's optimal when you're starting the day with protein. It sets the tone for the day. But Paul was like, "Buddy, this is the thing I do with my wife," and I was like, "Okay, it is, and whatever, whether it's oatmeal or anything else, it's okay until it's not okay." And you have to be, and I think we've worked through oatmeal gate, yeah, like it's been absolutely fine, but it's okay until it's not okay. And if it's not okay, something has to change. But like you're saying with the flexible, I'm absolutely flexible. If things are working and you are working and you're seeing the results, which is absolutely amazing. What you're saying there about setting you up for success, I don't want to work with you or anyone for 5 years one to one. It shouldn't be that way. I do not want to. Paul, there was no supplements. There was nothing from the Isle of Fitness store. It's hey, here's these tools. You do this consistently, whether you want to or not, and you're going to lose the weight. You're going to get fit. You're going to get strong, and you're going to love it. And I want you to do that for the rest of your life, instead of okay, well, level two, we've got this 30 grand, vitality stacker 3,000. It's just not like that. I don't want to work with you, Paul, forever. I want you to get set up on your own 2 feet, and I appreciate that point as well. Do you mind if I ask you, what have you noticed with respect to your quality of life, Paul? So, well, by the way, Paul has gone from around 233 down to 199. I love that. Getting below 200, Paul, was like climbing Everest. You've done that, and now it's onwards, which is incredible. So
I tease my kids. They're like, how much weight do you want to lose? I said, on to zero.
zero.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are obvious changes like, gee, my clothes fit better, or gee, I need to wear smaller pants now.
Yeah.
Those are obvious changes, but also even something like your face, which you look at all the time, you're like, holy cow, it's like it doesn't feel, it feels like this shape has definition. It's not like a
Yeah.
balloon, So,
Yeah.
those are nice things. And I will say, my kids and my wife and my mother-in-law, I obviously they notice things, and I'm telling them about my wins, like as my weight has been decreasing. They're happy for me. As I think, honestly, anybody who cares about you should be happy. Like, I'm doing good things. I'm being healthier. It's not like I'm beating the drum and saying, now you should do this. Everybody's journey is their own. But
Mhm.
when you see someone you care about succeed, whether that's a work partner or a life partner, if you really care about them, you are of course super happy to, bask in the glow of their success. So it's really nice. Of course, I have nice kids and a nice wife and a nice mother-in-law, so they are happy in my success, and they are impressed that you know, it's like, hey, I'm going to the gym now. That's something I wouldn't say. And now it is just like, it doesn't even seem to walk, 10 or 12,000 steps at least as a minimum every day. That's just like part of the routine now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to take the dog for a longer walk. So I know, and then I check the step counter. Oh man, we knocked off 4 or 5,000 steps right there, and it's not like, oh my God, I'm running a marathon or stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, building those habits that are sustainable, wanting and understanding, again, being mindful and being like, okay, it's a nice day. I'm going to walk a little further, or, even an errand in the neighborhood where before I might have just said, oh, I'll just jump in the car and go to the post office or the store. I'm like,
Yeah.
when I just walk there
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. What does Lisa say?
I mean, again, she's like, she's happy and impressed. Like I was telling you, she was like poking me, like, wow, I can feel your bones. Like I can
Yeah.
see, like you can see the changes that occurred. And again, I'm not. I said to you before the call started, certainly my goal is not to be a pinup model at 63. That would be a sort of silly goal, but at least for me. But doing the right things in the right way comes with all sorts of benefits. Those might not have been my prime motivators,
Hmm.
but hey, like the fact that I don't look like, I hate to say it, a fat fatty. Yeah, I'll take that. The fact that I feel like I do have a spring in my step, and like the idea of walking extra or doing extra in the gym. Like we didn't talk about this, but you provided, a gym regimen and
Hmm.
stuff. And I just have got into the habit of, after doing the lift or the different machines on the routine, to say, oh, let me just ride 3 or 4 miles on the exercise bike. It's like a good way for me to cool down and do that. But of course, that kind of thing adds up. I mean, I think at the end of the day, all of this feels to me like, if you have change in your pocket at the end of the day and you put it in a jar on your bureau, you know, bit by bit, you add those pennies and
Hmm.
spare change. all of a sudden at the end of the year, you're like, ooh, look, this jar is like full up. And I think that's how this work is. It's all cumulative, it's additive. Like every one of those positive steps pays benefits, and just you look up at the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, and you're like,
Yeah,
wow, look at where I am now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not like I did that. It's not like I feel like, wow, this was, this was the most painful thing. It's just like, okay,
yeah,
this is what I do now. This
yeah.
is what my life is. And why didn't I do that before? Why is it that now I'm below 200 pounds and it took me 30 years to get here? I mean, I mean, there are, again, we talked about a lot of those reasons, but those reasons at this point really don't matter. Here I am now.
Yeah, yeah.
What am I going to do to keep moving forward in a positive, healthy, sustainable way?
Um, you know, the Paul Orselli transformation exactly is built on the back of jumping on that bike 3 times a week for the last 14 weeks, 15 weeks. It's getting those, going for those X amount of walks every day. It's the X amount of thank yous that you've said. It's the mindfulness around your food. People see, if they haven't seen you, Paul, in 4 months, they'd be going, Paul, are you on one of the famous weight loss pills or whatever? And you're like, nope.
Somebody, you know what? No joke. Yesterday at lunch, a working partner, he said, "Oh, well, are you taking some injections, or like Ozempic,
Yeah,
one of those things?" And I was like, "No, I'm just exercising more and being mindful about what I eat." I
yeah,
mean, how many times in our lives do
yeah.
we hear, "Be thoughtful about what you eat and move more"? Basically, those two things. Simple, but not
Not easy,
easy, you
not
would
easy.
say. And
Despite,
like we know what to do, but do you do it? Can you do it? Will you do it?
yeah,
You
yeah,
say that all the time. I mean, like, sure, I'd like a big bowl of ice cream, but you know what? Really, I had enough to eat at dinner. I really am full. And yeah, like I would, of course, I like ice cream, or I like cookies, or I like
yeah.
pie or whatever else. Doesn't mean I can't have it sometimes, but just to mindlessly scarf it down, like that's just the road. That's
We
just
know,
the road to tears and
yeah,
disaster.
we know what that feels like. It's not worth it. It's not worth it when it's compromising your mental and emotional health and your physical health. It's just not worth it. But how to, exactly what you're saying, what I offer is a vehicle for the common sense stuff that you need to do. But I help you put it all together. And now, after we're finishing up, Paul, you know what to do. You have the tools to do it. You know how you're down 30 pounds in over, first time, 30 years with like 4 months of work. You know how to enjoy the nice things, the nice meals and the ice cream or whatever, but not at a level which pulls you back because it's not worth it. You did it for 30 years. It's not worth it. But when you make the treats, for example, it's amazing. So again, for anyone watching, what I help you do is the common sense stuff. And it's in a contained 12-week vehicle. It's built around, there are fundamentals, but it's built around you, customized around you, so that it makes sense for you and your life. And that's it, Paul. It's like, I think about this. I'm trying to, like, what am I helping people do? I help people do what they know they need to do. So instead of stuffing your face down here, or you're fasting and on pills and juicing and whatever that is not sustainable up here, we have the creamy middle of sustainable changes that work, and you get to enjoy everything, but not at a level which compromises your health. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, it is interesting, even though our work is very, like coaching, physical fitness coaching, and museum work. On one hand, it's very different, but really the work we do is very similar in the sense of, sometimes people get into a mindset where they tell themselves about all the things they can't do, you
Yeah,
know, and just helping people shift and let's find one thing you can do, in your museum or in your life for your health. And, you know, again, simple but not easy. Like, okay, instead of being in this mindset, this negative mindset, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can't go for a walk, it's too cold. Can you go to the mall? Can you walk around your dining room table? I mean, sometimes I see my 87-year-old mother-in-law. She's like walking around in her house because it's cold outside or she can't go outside, but she still knows she wants to move around to feel better.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. And if you
Yeah.
want to do it, if you want to look for those ways, you find them. And having a coach, having a mentor, having a somebody to help you, to help guide you, to help reinforce those positive aspect of things is, I would say, definitely, to me, worth every penny and every minute that you and I have spent together. And I can just step on the scale as a very practical thing and know that those results happen because we worked together. It's as
Well,
simple as it's as it is as simple as that, but it still takes the work. I was ready to do the work and I was ready to meet you. I have a friend who is a doctor, and her mindset is whenever anybody steps through the door, that was the right time for us to work together.
yeah.
They we found each other, and then something positive came out of that. Great.
Here
Super.
we are. I've got like a three questions left, right? Number one is this is a tough one, but it's something I'm trying to like crystallize for myself and what I'm doing with Out of Fitness. Paul, for you, can you sum up in like a couple of sentences why was it important for you to do this, to make these changes?
I mean, like I said before, did not, I didn't feel good about where I was, and B, I understood that this was not a positive place to be for myself, my health, my relationship to people I cared about. And so I knew it had to change.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, where are you going to go? You've got the tools. You've got the program, which does, by the way, you take this as far as you go. There's no like, okay, Paul, well, now that you're here after 12 weeks, we're gonna, if you pay me X amount of money, we go to this next. You've got the program from day one. The program works from however far that you want to take it. You're under 200 now, around 198, 199. Where do you want to go?
I mean, I think the honest answer is I'm going to keep um, on this path. I don't have any particular goal like, okay, now once, I think what's important for me
Mm-hmm.
is to still be mindful about the eating, still be mindful about the movement and the exercise. And I just feel confident that I'll continue with the wins in terms of my health. And some of that, of course, will be measured by the scale. But I think the kinds of things that we've been talking about during this conversation are maybe even more important, honestly, to me than the scale. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
now, like anything that happens scale wise is a bonus, of
Yeah.
course, it's a plus, but the foundations, the fundamentals about being mindful about the food,
Mm-hmm.
about keeping physical in the movement, those are really, to me, the takeaways, the sustainable takeaways and
Yeah.
the important takeaways. The scale stuff is just a number. One day it goes up, one day it goes down, one week it stays exactly the same. As long as it stays in a positive range and a
Mm-hmm.
healthy range, then, like it's great to keep track of that. But those foundational pieces,
Yep.
mindfulness and the movement and the flexibility we talked about, like those are really, to me, the big takeaways. Like busting 200 is an accomplishment that I'm
Yep.
really happy about, for all the sorts of reasons we've discussed. But the big takeaways are not just numbers on a scale.
Yeah.
That's not really I don't really feel like those are the takeaways
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
going to sustain me. That's just a number. If
So
one
you
day,
don't want so you don't want to go to zero.
well, I'll still use that joke, but hey, I mean, the honest answer is I don't know. Um, I I knew I wanted to break 200, and it took, at the end, it's like that. It's like you spend 99% of the time for that last 1%, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but now that that's happened, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure I could break 190. Let's see, but it's not like it had. I mean, I think the thing that you emphasize, which is super important, is I don't have some arbitrary date. It's like, oh, if I don't break 190 by next month,
Yeah.
then all my work was
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
nothing. Like that
Yeah.
was a failure. Like that's setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. And to me, that's not why I'm doing this. I want to continue using these tools,
Yeah.
build that foundation, and continue on with a healthy, happy life, in a mindset and a body set that makes sense for me.
Okay, quick. I've got one more. I've got one big main question, but little question here. Are you ever going back to 232?
Wow. If that happens, that no, I mean, that would really be a failure. That would really be a failure. And I don't honestly, I don't see any practical reason at this point why that would happen. For that to happen, I would just have to stop and like break all the foundations of what
Uh-huh.
I have to do. I
Uh-huh.
would be like, okay, I'm just gonna sit on my butt inside all day. I do a lot of my work on the computer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just not gonna. Okay, I got 2,000 steps today instead of 12,000.
Yeah.
Oh, I like ice cream. I'm gonna have a big bowl of ice cream every night because, like, hey, I look at me. I'm healthy now. That's it. It's like talking to a little kid. It's like, don't touch that electrical outlet.
Yeah.
Touch
Yeah.
that stove. It's hot. And then, ow, like some people need to touch the stove to learn. Thankfully,
Why?
I have learned those lessons without, having to stick my finger in an electrical socket or touch the hot stove and burn myself.
And why I'm asking is because when people are doing the miserable diets and the unsustainable methods of trying to lose weight, they cannot wait for the experience to be over because they're like, I'm just going to go back to all the pizza and all the donuts and whatever. And again, for you, for me, for my other, Isle of Fitness dads, it's like, no, it's again, that just like shift. I can enjoy everything, but not at a level which it's just going to send me back to 232. For me, it was 220 or whatever. It's not worth it. It would take a crisis for something like that to happen rather than the traditional, this is awful what I'm trying to do to lose weight. I cannot wait for this to be over and I'm going to go back to how I was living before.
One of my kids for Christmas gave me a little container of toffee, little piece of toffee. I love it. That's why they gave it to me. But it's not like I grab a handful every day. Every couple of days or so, I'll think about that and I'll take one piece. And man, will I enjoy that piece.
Yeah.
I'll think about my son who gave it to me and I like how much I enjoy this candy and stuff. And it's one piece, I like
Yeah.
whatever the calories are, 80 calories probably, but it's it's a mindset of really savoring and enjoying something like that. It's a treat. And before, if you would grab 3 or 4 pieces and just shove them in your mouth, yeah, of course it tasted good. It's sugar and butter, stupid. Of course it, but really being mindful and enjoying that, like,
Yeah,
wow, and knowing that I'm not doing something that's putting me back on a track where I don't want to ever go back to.
100% agree. We have the salted caramels from Costco. Back in the day, I would have had 10 in a go, 800 calories. But it's like every day, one enjoying.
Dude, are those Sanders? Are
Yeah,
those
the
Sanders?
Sanders. Yeah, the
Hey, they're
Sanders get.
from Detroit. That's where I'm born and raised.
All
That's
right,
like my
nice.
childhood sweet shot.
They're so freaking good. But again, it's exactly the same thing. Paul, this has been a pleasure. Last question. Would you recommend other dads that have at least 40 pounds to lose that are at your place where they're like, I know I need to make changes and I'm ready to make changes? Would you recommend them not even hiring me, but talking to me?
Oh yeah. I mean, of course, absolutely. I mean, I think if you are a dad and if you are at a point where you just realize, like, wow, how did I end up here? I need to get out of this. Yeah, talk to Sean. I mean, this is how it goes, every relationship, including a coaching relationship, it is a relationship, and you feel like, okay, this is a guy I can work with. Like this, like my sense of this person is, yes, he's gonna help me. I mean, I can speak for myself. I'm here because he did help me. The results are there on the scale, but as we've talked about, I think now I do have the tools. I have set the foundation for continuing to move forward in a positive way and not to go back to a place that was not healthy. Did not, I did not feel good about myself. And, now I can honestly say, obviously I'm healthier. Obviously, I do feel better for myself, about myself. And I feel like I've got the tools and the foundational, mindset to continue along that positive, healthy path. Here we
Love it.
are.
Here we are, and we've got a week or so to go, and then just like love it. Never NFGB. If you work with me, NFGB. Never fucking going back. That's it. Paul, stay here, okay? I'm just gonna wrap this up, but thank you so much again for taking the time.
You bet.
I love the conversation, and I always have in my mind like I'll keep this. I want to keep it shorter, but I just love, I love the conversation, and I love
Conversation goes where it goes.
it goes where it goes, and with ever intentions of trying to keep people's attention, or whatever. I just love this chat, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If you're watching this, okay, you can check me out. If you're a dad and you're carrying 40 pounds plus, and you want to feel better, and you know that you need to do something, explore your options. I am an option. I'm not the only option. I'm a pretty good option, and you want to really explore your options. You can check out my Instagram page. It has up to date receipts. I'm on Facebook at I Love Fitness as well. I'm on YouTube at I Love Fitness. My website is ilovefitness.com. It's going to be the same thing. And if you come to me in 3 years, I'm still going to be saying the same thing. I've been saying the same thing for 4 years. Do cover the basics every day, whether you want to or not. And that's how you win, rather than a short term effort to try and lose some weight. It doesn't work. Build the lifestyle that you want to enjoy that includes all the treats, savory or sweet. Um, Feel free to reach out to me with an email, sean@ilovefitness.com, or a DM in Instagram, just going, I want to know more. What the feck is this about? Anyway, Paul, thanks so much today. You stay here. I'm going to stop the record button. For you watching this today, I hope you've got something from it. Look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Sean.